today's agenda really is to take a look at the Connecticut School Initiative as a whole. And I know you've just heard a lot about some great stuff in terms of the school climate survey. So one of the questions you may have, and hopefully we can answer, is how would this particular initiative and this particular project fit into the National School Survey? And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. This is really also, initially it was designed to really look at family engagement as well. It's not only a customer service, but we're looking at what are the ways that we can engage families and the community in a very practical and succinct way. We are going to explore the connection between the Connecticut Schools Initiative and the National School Standards. So we'd like to make that bridge for you. That's what today. So I'd like to kind of tell you what this is and what it's not, because we need to be really clear. I know that when we talk about welcoming walkthroughs, people tended to think that it was some kind of performance observation of teachers and teaching methodology. That is not the case. It is training, tools, and services to support the evaluation of how inviting your school is. So what makes it welcoming? What are those specific areas? And then what is the rubric for looking at what makes it inviting? It's a constructive process to improve family and community involvement, so that we're looking at not something kind of a got you. I had a lot of friends that were bankers, and they did what's called a customer walkthrough, a secret shopper. You know what a secret shopper was about? Yeah. Okay, secret shoppers would go into a bank and they'd ask questions. And if the people couldn't answer the questions, they were evaluated on their ability to kind of answer. It was kind of a gotcha approach, right? So those are some ways of evaluating. This is not a gotcha approach. We intentionally brought this to Connecticut because it's a constructive, strength-based approach, looking at what's going right and what things need to be improved. And we let everybody know. So people would say, Betsy, if you do that walkthrough and you let everyone know, they're going to change what they're doing in the school. Is that possible? It is not possible, right? You might make your desk look a little bit better, but it is not possible to change real things that are going on in the school. And if we talk about a constructive process, it's an opportunity for people to be invested in and be a part of the process. So it's comprehensive. It involves surveys, an actual walkthrough, a follow-up report, and then action. So what we talk about, and I've been doing this for actually 10 years in Connecticut, what we talk about is the process of this welcoming walkthrough is as important as the product. And the reason that we talk about that is because it's more organic in nature. So it's not conducted, it's not just an internal assessment. It's an observational tool with teams of people, and the people that serve on the team are staff in the school, a community member, and most importantly, parents. So parents are also on the team. You're all looking at things at the same time, and you're coming together to talk about what you've seen and potentially, an action to look at how we can fill in the gap or change some actions. It's not an evaluation of classroom teachers, observation of what's going on in the classroom, and it's not a tool to be used by outside evaluators. So we really don't put this in the hands of someone else. This is a community looks at this, a school community looks at this themselves. So the goals, and the reason we really, again, became very involved in this process, it really is to look at how inviting the school is. It really happened, it's really talking about a little bit about customer service, honestly. And our former commissioner, Associate Commissioner George Coleman, had an experience when he went into the school. This is how this whole started. He went in and he wasn't acting as the commissioner and wasn't dressed like he usually dresses, and he waited for a long time. And when someone finally responded to him, they said to him, "I thought you were just a parent." Okay? Yeah, not good, right? Not good, but probably an honest response that we hear a lot of the times, correct? Am I wrong here? So based on that, he immediately came back and talked to folks at the State Department of Education and said, we must do something about that. And that's when we really began to look for tools and assessments that represented that whole idea of giving voice to families and the community with the schools. It establishes unique goals as a result of the Connecticut Welcoming Schools Initiative, strategies to make the school more inviting to parents in the community. I want to say something else is that everyone has a, whether it's part of your school improvement plan, part of the evaluation, one of the things that everyone in Connecticut will be, I hate to use the word evaluated on, but expected to report on is family engagement. Family and community engagement. That is one of the hardest things in some cases for people to figure out, how do we do this? It's just a little messy, as Pat would say. So this is a school family community partnership in Connecticut, and this is a position statement. This is our State Department of Education. The Connecticut Welcoming School Initiative was developed with CREC and the State Department of Education. So we developed this in conjunction with actually this position statement. We were looking at this position statement. And it really talks about when schools, families, and communities all contribute, we have this, we're on the same page, that's when we have positive results. So if we looked at this overlapping sphere of influence, this is where the students are. But families have something to offer. The community has something to offer. Certainly the school has something to offer. Maybe in different ways, but we can do that if we all have the same, goal in mind for students. What we ask when you actually go through the training, and what we ask as far as implementation, is that you're looking at the 4 different components in teams of people who do this observational tool in those teams. So we just put examples of who could be on those on those teams. So could it be a custodian? It should represent, if you're really doing a good job, it should represent the population of your school. If you have parents who are Bosnian parents, make sure that you invite those folks in. Don't be afraid to invite people in who may have a different, again, perspective than you have, with the intention, though, of it being a constructive process. So it's broader than my own self-interest. Does that make sense to people? So I'm not going to do this because I want lights on a football field, and I'm going to be a real pain in the neck until I get that. So all these people kind of come together on that day. There's a little orientation, and they're going out and they're doing their work in terms of observation. It takes about 4 hours to do it. When we come back, we discuss this. And usually there is one person, the facilitator, who is the glue person, who's identified as kind of organizing the effort and making sure that paperwork is completed and there's a written report. The idea of parent involvement, this is the research to support this, and this is Catherine Hoover Dempsey, as far as the citing. And this was, she had 3 constructs as far as why parents got involved. And the first one was parent role construction, second is parent efficacy, and the final one is school invitingness. Construction and efficacy take a little while to build as far as sometimes with families. School invitingness, it has the block around this because, believe it or not, school invitingness trumps the other 2. That is why we looked at this as a doable initiative in Connecticut. When parents are involved and the community are involved in meaningful ways, the research is now showing that students achieve. There's better outcomes for students.